Let's go.
Dr. Rosie Milligan, one of the most sought-after speakers on the circuit today. Her live internet talk show, Express Yourself, is the most provocative, thought-provoking, and talked-about radio show on the internet. There's no holds barred, and Dr. Milligan puts the B in bold. She brings it every Tuesday live at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dr. Rosie has been proclaimed the most provocative female writer of the century. Her books include Satisfying the Black Man and Black Woman Sexually Made Simple, Why Black Men Choose White Women, and the book Nigga Please. These books have raised eyebrows across the country. She has authored 21 books and published 350 titles for authors nationwide. Check Dr. Rosie out at drrosie.com for her books, articles, and archives of her internet talk show. Sit at the feet of wisdom. Dr. Milligan is indeed a timekeeper and scorekeeper. She is the clock, calendar, and almanac for Black America. You need to hear her.
Good morning, top of the morning. It's another great day. You're listening to the Express Yourself Hour. I am your host, Dr. Rosie Milligan, coming to you live as we always do with nothing but straight talk. That's how we do it around here. And my two co-hosts are, you guys know them, you know them, the Invisible Man. We've called him that, the Invisible Man. People still want to know what he looked like, when they're going to see him. This is really funny. This has been going on ever since, well, before COVID. And I guess if you guys didn't see him before COVID, I don't know what make you think you're going to see him now. But he's Mr. Keith Swanson, radio personality in his own right. He is the most intelligent Black man that I have witnessed so far. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning, Dr. Rose. You remember that old TV program, the movie program called The Shadow?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're calling me now. They call me The Shadow.
Oh my God!
I think I'm gonna write a novel about that, and that's what I'm gonna call the Shadow. It can be all about Keith, how people been looking for him for years, and he be right up there, and
right,
they don't know it.
Right, they don't even know it. Yeah.
The Shadow.
Right. Wow. And my other co-host is the Valley Girl. She's in the Valley, you guys. You can tell by her accent. She's the Valley Girl.
That's a Nolans accent, girl.
She's a real estate.
Nah, ain't no Nolans accent. Ain't no Nolans accent, baby.
She's a real estate guru, you guys. She sells, she buys, she does everything that you can do to a house. I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't open up a cleaning business. She just, I guess, she wants every aspect of it. But she's great if you ever want to sell a house, you want to buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
whatever
indeed.
you want to do to a house, you need to call Shawana. Shawana, just go ahead and give your number straight out right now up front.
818-201-6565. That's 818-201-6565. Even if you just have questions, call me. I'll help you.
Oh, and I know you have a lot of questions now because the real estate business is really making a change.
It is.
So you guys, it really is. And Keith, I'm telling you, everybody talking about this new virus, and I think Wall Street is even.
Omicron. You have two countries that closed their borders completely. Three, Israel, Japan, and Australia has closed their borders behind Omicron. So we have to wait and see because you can't tell before it actually gets out to the wild what's going to do. But the signs aren't looking good. I haven't seen them close borders like this in a while. So we'll keep you abreast of it.
Yes, and I think Wall Street is kind of playing a hand. They looking at, and someone had mentioned, would there be another shutdown? If there's another shutdown, this country, I don't know how it could survive. I really don't.
I don't see another shutdown, but
I'm getting
anything's
mixed
possible.
reviews on that, though. On that Omni, I'm getting mixed reviews. I'm getting reviews stating that Africa is stating that it wasn't bad at all, and it's actually a milder version of the virus, and you're actually getting your immune system and your antibodies easier because now you have a milder virus. That's what I heard. I don't know.
Well, Africans deal with malaria, and malaria and the COVID virus actually mimics malaria, so they have a natural immunity to it that most people outside the continent do not have. So even with the other COVID variants, okay, they weren't affected nearly as much as say Europe and the United States and South America. So you can't go by them as far as whether it's mild.
I never thought about that.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
because
I'm gonna let the people know we're gonna bring Dr. Anderson on soon, but let's just. I got a message here. It said there will be 15 countries to close their borders by next week.
Yeah, that's not a good signal because Israel is the most vaccinated country on the planet, and they're very, very. I mean, last time they didn't do this last time with closing borders. So Israel's closing borders, and Australia and Japan is closing borders because they didn't do it last time. They didn't close borders like this. So this is, I'm not saying that it is, but the thing is, it's time to pay attention. I'm going to reach out to my bioengineer because I have another guy. He's a PhD. He's in pharmaceuticals. He's actually going to look at it. But I'm going to ask my friend, she's a bioengineer. I'm going to ask her what she thinks about it. But I don't think there's enough known about it to really make it an assessment. But as soon as I'll email her, and as soon as she gets back, I'll let you guys know. Okay. Because she's the one, but she's the one that told me that about this from the get-go when she first looked at it 2 years ago. She said this particular bugger is designed to mutate in an aggressive way. So, and I've said that from the very beginning. You know, this thing may not be going away like people think it is.
Oh, no. It's not going away, that's for sure.
That's why
Moderna CEO is saying that the existing vaccine may have issues with the Omicron.
They need to just shut up. Because they don't know nothing about that now. Too early.
It's because of the spike protein that causes the infection, right? That is the big. That's because that's what's designed to mutate. Because all the bioengineers, when the spike protein they first discovered, they said, okay, this is something that we've never seen before, and whoever put this spike protein together was a genius, because it's built to evade the human the human immune system, and so far it's done a pretty good job. So. You know, you got spikes in Germany, in Austria, and in the middle of Europe, you got all these spikes. So hopefully it's not the Omicron.
Well, so, my nephew took his booster shot. Well, he took his vaccination double mask all the time. And when he took his booster shot, the next day he came down with COVID and almost had to go on a respirator.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been sick now for two weeks. He's better. Went back and test negative. The doctor said you got to wait 14 more days before I clear you to go to work, because this could be a false. Yeah. So he's saying, well, the company only paid me for 2 weeks. There's nothing put in with the demand to be vaccinated, and when it make you sick and cripple you, there's nothing in place to help feed you. That's interesting.
Yeah, there should be something. The thing is, it's so jumbled up. Can you find it? He needs to talk to his either his congressman or somebody like that to see what's in place. There should be something in place for this. And plus, there should be some. I think there should be some kind of fund. It might not be his employer, but it could be the federal government that could help him out.
So I'm going to find out, because he wanted to go back to work for 2 weeks and he'll be out for a month.
And from what I'm hearing, it's really important that where you get your shot, and because this shot has to be administered correctly, because if it's not, you're going to have a bad reaction. Like I said, if because it's supposed to go into the muscle, not into the vein. If it goes into one of your blood vessels or veins, then the stuff is going to travel. It's not supposed to travel. It's supposed to stay right in the site where the injection is.
We need to get somebody on here to talk about that too, because they probably get anybody they can and just showing them how to poke that needle. I don't think they have all nurses out there, so we need to look into that. We need to look into that.
That's what I'm understanding. There's on YouTube. There's a doctor called John Campbell, and he's an old British doctor, and he said it's really important how you give that injection.
Oh, okay. I need to look that up.
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Okay. Well, you guys, today we're going to have our favorite, Dr. Claud Anderson, we're going to play a video that he did, an interview really, with Charlemagne on Charlemagne Talk Show. And Dr. Anderson is a worldwide sought-after speaker, the president of Powernomics Corporation of America, Inc., and the Harvest Institute, Inc. He is the author of Powernomics, a national plan to empower Black America, Black labor, white wealth, and 101 questions you never thought to ask, a Black history reader. Today, his topic is, he's going to talk about the real definition of capitalism, who started it, and what Black people must do to participate. Did you hear what I said? To participate. But a lot of Black people don't want to participate in capitalism because they think it's really sinful. They are socialists versus...
Black people are not even socialists. They're not even socialists. You know our people. What's a socialist? They're not even socialists.
Somebody who don't think about money. They just want to socialize and give stuff away and make people happy and feel good. I mean, you can almost call them Christians. But anyway, Dr. Anderson is going to talk about the role that capitalism plays and why we really need to know what it is. Because we throw so many words around, Keith, without understanding, like we throwing around racism and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a lot of things that we talk about. Somebody puts into Black people, what do you say here? Survivalists, not capitalists. Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That is probably spot on. There are survivalists. Yeah.
Not thrivalists.
Yeah, you better write that down, Dr. Rose.
Yeah,
because Shawana's going to steal that one if you don't write it down.
Yeah. No, I won't steal. I will write it, but I'll put Dr. Rose's name.
you know, Shawana's going to use that one.
I know.
Survivalists. That's pretty good.
Yeah, we don't want to survive. We want to be thrivalists, not survivalists.
Amen.
All right. Well, we're going to have the technician to really pop Dr. Anderson on, and after Dr. Anderson finishes, we're going to analyze, critique, give you our spin on it, and you want to call in and ask questions about it. We probably have about 15 minutes after the Dr. Anderson goes off to really chime in and talk about this. So technician is going to let it roll. So we're ready to hear from Dr. Claud Anderson, the man with the plan.
I am honored to be sitting here with the president of the Powernomics Corporation of America and the author of Powernomics. It's the national plan to empower Black America. You see it right there. Dr. Claud Anderson. It's an honor to be here with you, sir.
And it's an honor to be with you, Chico.
I appreciate you, man. Now, let's go ahead and get to it. We're going to talk about Black capitalism today because I don't think that there's any better source to get some answers from than you. So let's get it on kicked off. First question, is capitalism cap?
Yes.
It is.
You know why?
Why?
Because it was built into the United States Constitution in 1789. And the United States Constitution, that was the first affirmative action plan in the entire United States. Primarily for whites.
Whites got affirmative action first?
That was who had the affirmative action was whites. So y'all don't know that.
Man, that's terrible.
That's what started affirmative action. Was whites started. In the Constitution, the amendments 1 through 12, that is an affirmative action plan for whites to give them everything they wanted, period. That's what it was for. And so when that was approved, as a matter of fact, when they wrote the Constitution, they had 57 people that came to the United States, very wealthy whites from Europe. And you all call them founding fathers. Those rich whites came here to what? To use their laws. And then out of 57, about 54 of them participated in drafting the United States Constitution. 3 of them, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Alexander Hamilton. And they told him, so you 3 write up the Constitution of the United States. And they wrote in there exactly, here's what we want. And what did they want? They met for a whole week in Philadelphia. And they put guards on the doors and bars on the windows so nobody could hear this discussion. Discuss how can we write a constitution that says this is an open country for freedom and opportunity for everybody. At the same time, we're talking about enslaving people and using them. And they said, here's what we do. when we write this Constitution, we use very broad, ambiguous language. One for language for whites and one for black folk. Now, when they talk to use these very broad, ambiguous terms, that was for whites. When blacks, they use words that blacks couldn't figure out. 3/5 of a human being, equal to a field animals, those who are indebted, those who are obligated in the labor class. See, all that was talking about black folk. John Adams and Alexander Hamilton asked Thomas Jefferson, say, you write best. You wrote the Bill of Rights. We like that fancy language. You write it, put it together, and give it back to us. And use all those broad terms, stuff like all human beings have a God-given right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. They didn't went there for no damn happiness. Nobody was sailing across the river for happiness. They were coming there for impersonal enrichment.
Right.
And after he approved the Constitution, then those three people with the founding fathers sent out messages to all those 5 groups that had been in that race trying to get across the ocean to build a new land, and told them, send us your people. And the emphasis they used, let's put that at the bottom of the Statue of Liberty. Give us your tired, those who don't want to work anymore. Give us your poor, those who don't have any money. What England and France and 2 other countries did, they clean out their prisons, their mental institutions, and their almshouses with poor people and send them to the United States.
And I bet you they didn't put that in the Hamilton play on Broadway.
No.
Left that right on out. They didn't put none of that in there. But with that being said, well, you know, as you always talk about, 87% of wealth is locked into white society. So we are competing for 13% of the wealth.
Right.
So with the racial wage gap, is there such thing as black capitalism? Can there be black capitalism with only 13% of the wealth to be competed for?
Oh, yes. It's going to be hard to get it now. We'd have had some leadership sending us after the key things that we must have to be a competitive group in America to survive, and that is wealth. We see they didn't focus on wealth. And the only time they came close was back in 1865. That came out by some very key radical Republicans, white congressmen, who says right now our primary responsibility since we won the Civil War is to reverse the Dred Scott decision of 1857. The Dred Scott decision says that no black man has any rights that a white man is bound to respect. And what he was talking about was that you're not even citizens. And all the resources we got in this country, you're not entitled to it. Because now we're going to set up a social construct called a Constitution. And in that Constitution, it's going to decide between 2 group of people. Those who will be aligned with us and be a part of us, and those who will be in opposition to us. And so the next year, in 1790, 1 year later, Congress approved what they call the first nationalization and immigration law, which says this is a white nation. And anybody coming to this country must be white, period, or can pass by whites and be viewed as whites. And that way they'd be acceptable into the society. Black folk are non-acceptable. And so consequently, immigration laws in this country were totally opposed to black folk, who says you cannot practice capitalism so long as we're coming in and we got a right to come in. Okay? And so they started bringing in immigrants from all around the world. And that's what created your problem to today.
When you say those things, like, what do you think is the best possible way for us to start to get to that point of generating black wealth?
Capitalism never existed until about the 15th century. Prior to that time, we had mercantilism all around the world. Europe was a mercantilism stretch all the way around. That's where people just made a product, sold it. There was no system. And so every individual could go out in the mornings into the marketplace and sell his vegetables or sell whatever he wants to sell, shoes or clothes, and that was it. And so, no, capitalism came out of black people. And that's why it's a little concerning to me when I hear a lot of professors, particularly on college campuses, talking about anti-capitalism. Capitalism is the best thing we got going. And the opposite of that would be socialism. Capitalism means private sector owning and controlling resources and being able to make profit. People say, well, Dr. Anderson, let's go for socialism and just push socialism where the government owns everything and they control everything and with restraints. And all the profits go straight to government. I ran that down in Cuba. Very few people own anything. Ever since about the late 1950s, no private businesses of any magnificence. Everything is just simply same cars have been there since 1950 are still running. Just repair the same old cars. And the few businesses that exist, you got to be close to a prince or a god to get a business in Cuba.
Wow.
And that's why most of those Cubans that came into Miami, they flew out of there right quick because they wanted to practice capitalism. So let's go back and talk about what capitalism is right fast. Now, capitalism, as you and I discussed earlier, capitalism came about because of what happened with Henry the Navigator back in the early 1400s.
Yes, sir.
And somewhere between 1445 and 1455. When he picked up almost 16 black slaves, they weren't slaves at that point, blacks off the coast of Africa. And he brought them back into the European theater. And he decided, what do I do with these people? And so he went to the Vatican in Italy and gave them to the Vatican. And why? Because, see, the Catholics had a reputation at that time around the world as being the religion that was concerned about helping people that needed help. And then people that were classified as slaves to be their mediators, to bring comfort to them, their comforters. And so the Catholics, but at the same time, the Catholic was milking them. And milking them in the sense that whatever resources they had, or they could get out of them, they took it to the Catholic Church. That's where at that time they said all roads lead to Rome, because the Catholic is spread out all around the world. Catholic is going into the Middle East, they're going into Latin America, they're going into the Caribbean, and they were going there trying to pick up one thing that was extremely important: wealth. They wanted wealth, and the Vatican was loaded down with wealth, all kind of wealth, where we had gold this, gold that. But after Henry the Navigator gave those 16 blacks to the Vatican Church, the Vatican then said, we got to use these people. We use them as labor around the Vatican. And they used them for about 40-some years. And then about 1488, Pope Anderson came out and with a public edict that says, you know what, I got an idea. That we no longer have to keep encouraging people to use Indians and primitive groups for slaves. There's another group of people that will be better at providing labor than the Indians, who are weaker people. Let's use Africans, these blacks out of Africa. And he said up to this time, to be a slave, you had to be one of three things. One, you had to be a victim of religious persecution. Two, you have personal indebtedness to somebody, and they now say you owe me, and so now you are my property. And three, again, to be a POW, a prisoner of war.
Yes, sir.
And so Pope Innocent's public edict says, let's do it this way. Let's put those three things aside and say, here's a better group of people that you can use, not based on those three factors, but it's based on another fact. That's on their skin color. That's them highly recognizable. You can spot them in a place. You know who they are. They can't just escape and run away. You can spot them in a minute and use them. And so he threw in the whole thing about skin color. Now, that was 1488. But ironically, at the same time, Columbus was making these expositions into the Western world and going to different places, down in Haiti and down into the Caribbean islands. And finally, he says, you know, there's some land up around in here. I only saw a very few scattered people there looked like Indians. This would be open land. I could use this. So he went back to England, went back to Spain, and he told the people, so, you know, I found a lot of vacant land, but only a few people on it. And right now here in Europe, we are undergoing terrible conditions. We are overrun right now with crime, criminals, highwaymen robbing people, killing people on the roads. We got famine, where people are starving to death. They can't find enough food in the country. And we also got a lot of other problems that cannot be solved right now because we don't have enough land and money to do it. They said, what if we were to take and do two things? What if we were to put all that vacant land in the Western world up for grabs and say, now let's use these blacks and use them as labor. And they said, and that was about the late 1490s. So by 1502, they put those two together and came up with what you call capitalism. Capitalism is owning and controlling the land, the tools, the resources, and using other people's labor to enrich yourself and your business. That is capitalism.
Goodness gracious. And came from somebody named Pope Innocent. What type of name is that for a motherfucker that would do something so evil? Pope Innocence. That's crazy. Well, there we have the definition of capitalism right there. So let me ask you another question.
Well, let me ask you one other point right quick?
Yes, sir.
The other point is that now, later on, about 1915, W.B. Du Bois tried to define capitalism. He came pretty close to saying the same thing. Okay. And now it's much simpler the way he said. He says that capitalism is simply just getting like having 3 to 4 ears of corn. He said, and you get seeds and get the corn. You plant, you harvest, you sell, and you save the other seeds for next year's harvest. make profit off. He said that's capitalism. Earning, savings, selling, and planting the seeds for next year.
There you go.
And that was in 1915 when Du Bois defined capitalism.
Like, what do you think is the best possible way for us to start to get to that point of generating black wealth?
Fine. What's first we have to do is learn how to practice group economics and group politics. They say, and one of the two things that hurt us most during the slavery, and it had not been focused on. One was that our wealth was stolen from us. Black folk weren't poor people when they were slaves. They weren't holding any assets, but they had one thing was the most powerful, strongest, wealthy, valuable thing on earth. You know what that was?
No, sir.
Their labor. And see, and it's black labor. Nobody teaches black folks that. Your labor, that black labor was the most invaluable thing they could have. Because you see, when they set up this Constitution, they said all of the wealth of this nation is going to be embedded in what we're going to set up right now. And the first thing is land. So the whole purpose of slavery should have been an issue for Martin Luther King and all of our leadership for the last 200 or 300 years. And the purpose of slavery was to what? Was to transfer, to maldistribute 100% of all this country's land, resources, business, gold, silver, chrome, magnesium, timber, and rights, privileges, and ownership and control of everything, and put it in the hands of the dominant white society. That was the purpose of slavery.
Okay, Dr. Claud, my next question to you then is there such thing as black capitalism?
Yes, there is.
And how's
that operated?
Yes, sir.
What we have to do is go back to what I told you earlier, that the whole point of slavery was the maldistribution of all resources, period, into the hands of one group.
Yes, sir.
What you have to do is create a situation where you can call some of that money back, or you can start creating your own wealth, or you can start getting it through reparations, or you can get it through inheritance.
Okay, well, why do you think black people struggle in the system that's set up for us now? Why do you think that happens?
Because you don't own and control the land, the tools, the resources, and everything else. When land was given out in America during the slavery period, that immigration was an open policy for everybody around the world to come to this country and get resources except black folk. And during that period, first thing that George Washington said is that the wealth of this nation would be in the land. He said, I want 100,000 acres of free land. And Thomas Jefferson said, I want 100,000 acres of free land. And then after he heard that, Patrick Henry that says, give me life or give me death, he then said, then I want 65,000 acres of free land. And then so consequently during the period of slavery, during that from point 1 up to 1862, that this country gave away 2 billion, B-I-L-L-I-O-N, okay, acres of free land, but it all went to whites, not to blacks. And see, and guess what? In all the land, and then the wealth of the nation was in that land, in gas, in oil, in timber, and iron, and coal, and minerals, and all that kind of stuff. Black folk couldn't get any land because the Dred Scott decision of 1857 says you have no rights to get any land. And so the liberal white congressman in the Republican Party, called the Radical Republicans, says we're going to correct that by creating a second constitution. And that's mean from 13 up to 15 will be a second constitution. This constitution, just like the first constitution from 1 through 12, amendments were strictly for whites, we're going to create another constitution. And following the Civil War, it's going to pick up 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment and the civil rights laws. And those 3 things or 4 things will be strictly for black people.
They don't got no land in there, though. But no land in neither one of them amendments.
Some of your strongest senators stood up on the floor of the House of Representatives and the Senate says this: there's only 2 things that black folk can be in this country. You're either going to be slaves or you're going to be free. But to be free, minimally, you must have 40 acres, a mule, and 1.
Man, the only person that is operating on that is Spike Lee. He's the only one that got 40 acres and a mule. And that's just a production company. That's crazy. You know what, speaking of that, with it being such disparagement between black wealth and white capitalism and the way things are set up, there have been a lot of black people who have been successful. There are some black billionaires, and there are a lot of people who have, thrived in the system that has been set up that wasn't set up for us, rather. So why do you think we are suspicious of those people?
Well, because of slavery itself. But during slavery, you have to remember this. We had, at the end of slavery, we had over 5 million blacks still enslaved in this country. And out of that 5 million blacks, we had at least about 6,000 blacks who had done very well under slavery. You know why? Because I told you what capitalism was. Get some land, control the tools, the land, the resources, and use other people's labor. And so one of the first people in this country that started using black people's labor, you know who it was?
No, sir.
It was a black man from England.
Sure, didn't he?
That's right. He came in, and he's the first one to start this thing about being a slave for the rest of your life. It was started by
slavery.
Yeah,
by a black man.
A black man from England.
This ain't
he started that. And
really?
Yeah, and so consequently, blacks started getting into getting a few land lots here and there, and they wanted to use black slaves too.
Wow.
And so consequently, out of about 6,200 some blacks who got wealth during slavery, they did extremely well. They would have been millionaires in today's terms. But so we always had some blacks that would sell you out, and also some who would just simply say, I'm gonna play this system to make ends meet. You got blacks right now in entertainment and also in sports. They're totally indifferent to the race matters. They don't care about the race matters. They just said, I'm gonna milk the system. I'm gonna buy me a lot of land. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna buy me a hotel. I'm gonna buy me a bar, a restaurant, and I'm not gonna deal in racism. Period. I'm not gonna get involved even in a discussion of racism. I'm just gonna operate a business and take as much money as I can and help my family and my own people, my own family. Period. So we always got blacks who have such a limited amount of self-interest as a group. They'll take their own people to the cleaners.
Yeah, well, all of England keeps sending all these actors over here. They need to send some reparations for that nigga that did that goof-ass shit. Excuse my language, but can't believe that. And send all these dudes over here to play gangsters, and started chattel slavery. It was a black man from England. We don't want to hear no... All right, next question. That kind of got me upset. Now, with that being said, Dr. Claud, do you think black celebrities owe the community anything?
Yes, most definitely.
So, what do you think they know? What are those things?
Because you see, everybody does that naturally and instinctively. Every group does that. Every group has a code of conduct. And see, we're the only people you can think of now, whether they have a religious background, orientation, or whether it's for ethnicity or culture, and we're the only people that lack a culture that says how you should be operating. See, right now, Chinese come to this country, they got a code.
Yes, Chinatown in every city in America.
And Chinatown in every city. But you know, when I go to some, I say, I want to say these, like some blacks wouldn't say, I want you to buy some of these cereals right here. We're selling them. We'll sell it to you at a discount. And the Chinese said, we don't want them. Sorry, we don't want any. They said, well, we'll give you a 25% discount off it. The same products you got on your shelf. They said, we're still not interested. And then the blacks would say, why aren't you interested in buying these products? I'm gonna give you a discount of 25 to 30% on it, and you still don't want it? They say, you black folk don't understand. It's not the price. It's not the money. It's a culture that we're raised to buy only from our own people. We'll only work for our own people. That's why the Wall Street Journal puts out a story saying, where Chinese say, we'll never hire any black folk. You're never going to go to a Chinese restaurant or Chinese anything and find black folk working there. We only hire our own people. We only buy from our own people. We only support our own people. You black folk will buy from any and everybody because you don't have a code of conduct. It doesn't mean anything to you. That's why you all can't get ahead, because you don't play as a team. You all play as individuals. And you listen to these black activists on the streets saying, we're not a monolithic people. You know, just because he did it, we don't have to do it. He's wrong. All of you should play as a team. Even if you don't like something that the group is going to do, you should play along with the team, and so that you got team power. Wealth and power follows the numbers. If you haven't got a lot of blacks with you, you're not pooling your money, pooling your votes, pooling your attention, pooling your interests, pooling your labor, then other people will pick you clean and cherry pick you. You'll stay at the same spot. That's why right now, blacks in America only own and control almost exactly what they had in 1790. Did you know that?
No, I know now. We don't got no money, like
That's
you just
right.
said. We
That's
don't
right.
have no money.
No money. In 1790, blacks, you had about 800,000 blacks in the United States. And at that same time, and out of the percentage of whites, you had about 1.3 million whites in the country. And out of that, guess what? And what whites were picking up control on everything from the land and resources and privileges and all these rights and everything, the black slaves, what they owned and controlled was 0.1163. That means that was less than, just barely over 1%. And guess what? That was in 1790. Now you're up here now. I can bring you up to about 1880, 1890, and guess what? Black folk now have worked our way up from 0.1. That's up to about 189. You're still less than 2%. You own less than 2% in the richest nation on the earth. Wealth, and guess what? Here's the last final point, and I get off this point. What you have in America that decides your opportunities is what you own and control through capitalism. It's not social integration. It's not civil rights. Those things can't do anything to help you. There's no power in civil rights. There's no power in social integration. Those two processes are weakening processes. It's what you own and control that will determine your opportunities. If you don't have the money, the opportunity doesn't exist. It's an illusion.
You mean to tell me all of me is Martin Luther King and them was walking the soles off hard bottoms? That didn't help at all? Like that wasn't anything that we were supposed to do? Like that didn't put us in a better position?
No, it didn't.
Socioeconomically?
No, it weakened you.
Wow.
Why? Because when that lawsuit in McClinton, South Carolina started, and this is an elaboration for you, started, what black folk were complaining about in South Carolina was the fact that school teachers and school systems were not getting the same amount of money in the black communities they were getting in the white community. For every white child, they were putting in $12 on an average for every white child to go to school, and for every black child, they put in $1.50. You weren't enough money, so consequently, white kids were rolled to school every day in school buses. We walked to school in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where you went to school.
Yes, sir.
We walked in muddy roads and then mud, snow, and ice to get to school. Where we went past white schools in the summertime, they had swimming pools. If we wanted to go swimming, you know what we had to do? We had to go down and dam up the darn creeks in the water and put rocks in it so we could swim in the damn creeks and branches. And spent the first week of school every year in black schools, you have spent the first week with art garment erasers cleaning up the books and stuff. You know why? Because they would send all the textbooks from the white schools over to the black schools to be cleaned up, washed, and with tape the pages up, the torn pages up, tape them back in the books. We use old used books and materials and supplies and machinery, equipment that was broken. They had to fix it. They got all new stuff. But when we filed that lawsuit in 1948 saying we want the same thing that whites wanted, and that wound up in the Supreme Court in 1954. In 1954, the whites then said, "Okay, we'll give you more money." But see, it was the NAACP and the executive fund under NAACP that says, "No, we don't want you to fix up our schools now and give us equality. We don't want equality law. What we want is to come to school with you.
We want to go to school with you."
That's right. And so therefore, they did a doll study that says that it is impossible for a black child to learn if he's not sitting close to a white child. That is an insult to me. That's what they based it on. Said, well, we don't need it in the black schools. Close down all the damn black schools and bus all the black kids into the white schools and put the rest, and 75% are going to white schools. The other 25% were going to special education.
Man, well, I hear a lot of people always say, when we had these type of discussions, especially the rich ones, it was like, well, you don't hold the white billionaires to the same standard. Or why don't nobody ever say Elon Musk should go build some spaceships for white children or whatever it is he into? Mm-hmm. Why are we held to a higher standard?
Let me raise a question back to you in a different context. If you were walking across a bridge and you saw your mother and sister out there drowning in a lake, mm-hmm. and everybody else is standing on the shore saying, "Oh, that's okay, don't worry about it. They'll drown, let them go." And what would you? And you jumped in the water. Mm-hmm. Would you jump in the water and go try to save them?
Hell yeah.
Why?
Because they my people.
That's your answer. Because if that's your people and you see your people suffering, you got $1 billion, get off your damn butt and do something for them.
Right.
And don't run around like I know some black billionaires right now. They got all kind of money, discretionary money to spend. they'll go all the way to South Africa, someplace, and set up a girl for schools out in the damn jungle. Now, how the hell is it going to help the masses of black folk to go around into the jungles of South Africa, way off in the desert, and do something for those? Why don't you do something for some of these blacks right here in the United States? If you got $1 billion and you're a billionaire, do something in Chicago for all these black kids that are sleeping on the streets and no money, no food, no clothes. Go to Detroit, Michigan, where right now there are 50% of the black kids that start elementary school in Detroit, Michigan today can fail to graduate from high school. And out of the few that 50% do graduate from high school, they're reading at a 5th grade damn level. Do something for them. Why are you going to run all the way to Africa to take care of them? First of all, take care of your own. Start at home. And don't use the excuse about, well, I'm a billionaire. Why are you asking me to do it? Because it's your people. That's why I'm asking you. See, right now, because of the maldistribution of resources that came up in the 1700s, as I told you, in the 1700s by slavery, where 99% of everything of value was transferred into the white society, into their communities, their schools, their churches, into their businesses. And so consequently, that everything the whites want is in their community. There's nothing in the black community. It's abandoned, raw, and deprived. And consequently, if I were in a given hospital, if you had a black child born here and a white child born in that same hospital at exactly the same time, you know what would happen then?
What's that?
That means that the white child would have everything he needs at birth, because it's in his community, in his church, in his school, in his family, in his trust account, in his inheritance, in his will. But now the black kid was born,
come out having to fill out a W-2. It's
that's
crazy.
Right.
Immediately.
That's right, because see, in the black community, the things that black folk have been forced to indulge in and to be pursuing and marching for and demonstrating, as you say, and wearing our shoe leather, you know what they were demonstrating for more public housing, for jobs, for welfare, food stamps, public school, and public housing, and anything that you cannot measure, and the black kid cannot inherit. A black kid can't inherit food stamps and welfare.
I wish we could, though, Dr. Claud. I ain't gonna lie. I know that's not a good pride perspective,
but you can't inherit.
I wish I can inherit some food stamps, boy.
See, you see what I'm saying? So consequently, so the white kid got everything he wants. In the black neighborhood, if a kid wants a job, he's got to get up and dress and catch a bus and ride over to the white neighborhoods and go to their business and look for a job.
Right.
And we don't have an unemployment problem in America. We have a joblessness problem. Because everybody gets into a public office, what he wants to do is give black folks a job. A job ain't worth a damn. A job is not designed to change the wealth. You can't change wealth with having a job unless you're good as hell at stealing. You got to steal to be able to change. If you're going to change wealth with a job,
you got to be real
so what you have to
good
do, what you have to do is that you got to spend some money into building businesses for black folk. Black folk don't need jobs. They need businesses.
Need businesses
to build their own products and services and goods and opportunities for their own people.
And do you think that the wealth structure in the black community needs to be dedicated to that? Like you think, like you said, that pool system, and you think the guys who have the most money have more of a responsibility to start that pool up, to put in the most, to be able to motivate the black people that are on a smaller scales, the ones that are living off the food stamps, that are living off the public housing, to motivate them to say, well, if this group of black men who have accumulated wealth in a system that wasn't set up for us have put this pool of money together, that'll motivate the people who might not have money but have that sweat equity that you talk about, to put the effort in to be able to make it work?
I most certainly do. I think he's not only is he obligated, but it should be a mandatory thing for him to do. Because see all these other groups, they look out for each other. My Jewish friends, you know what they do? They look out for each other. They make sure that every time they go into a business, they put in 10%. Everybody put in 10%, but all Jews get profit from it, and they all share and care and take care of each other. Black folk don't have a code of conduct. What's your code of conduct? It's not that we work together and pool together and live together, and build schools together and have a special curriculum just for our children. Our curriculum is our goal is do your own thing.
Well, you know what's so crazy, Dr. Claud? We do have a code of ethics, but it's usually based in negativity. Like, in these communities where we come from, we won't talk to the police. You know what I mean? That's a code of conduct, and you know what I mean? We won't. It's based in negativity. So I feel like if we can switch the negative aspects of the things that we come together for, then I think we might be able to make some progress. That's
right. But the question is, for our people, why in the hell do you keep hiring non-blacks in your neighborhood as policemen? And then you start talking about them shooting you. Hell, if I was a police, you give me a gun, give me a license, pay me a salary, give me a club, and I see you doing some crazy stuff, hell, I would shoot you too. What do I owe you?
Money.
Yeah, that's right. See, what they should be saying is that in your own communities, you go to a white community right now. I can take you right now. Some of the communities I raised up in Winston-Salem and all down through Virginia.
Yes, sir.
In all white communities. I can live in all white communities. Guess what? They're going to hire all black police officers in their community and give them a gun and pay them a salary, be over white folk. Why do you keep putting other people over yourselves? They will know why they shot your butt.
Okay, well, with that being said, are there any black celebrities with money that you trust?
Yes.
Okay.
One of us, and I'll shoot. Ice Cube.
Okay.
I trust Ice Cube. He's got money. I can ask Ice Cube for something. I'm 9 times out of 10. I'm convinced he will provide me with it. Kanye West promised me stuff. He hadn't delivered on anything yet. But,
Kanye West. You and Beanie Siegel, apparently.
Yes. But see, my trust level there is real low. But with Ice Cube, it's real high.
Okay. So, Ice Cube and Kanye. That's it. All right. Why should we buy into a system that requires you to exploit others? Because this whole time we've been talking about capitalism, and it's just been exploitation. Why should we want to buy into a system that operates on those morals and principles?
Because that's the only system you got going. And the other opposition is that you own nothing. Then you don't have to worry about it. That's called socialism, where the government owns everything. And the profit goes to the government. Yeah, see, if that were to happen, then black folk would become an island of socialism in an ocean of capitalism. See, for instance, Russia used to be a socialistic country. They're going capitalistic now. China was a socialistic country. They've gone capitalistic now, where China, even when I was with President Carter, China was pretty much a backward country at that time, way back in the 1960s, 1970s. But now they're a leading nation where we used to have to lend them money. Now we are borrowing money from them. You know why? They went capitalistic. Right now, 57% of everything China produces, we buy it from them. And what we're doing now, they're taking the money out of this country and putting it in China. And we were foolish enough to play a game about not being capitalistic. We gave away all of our industries. We used to produce about 97% of all the commercial products in the world. Now we don't produce a damn thing except maybe the silicon chip out there. Now all of our money is going to Taiwan, China. We buy 47% of everything that India produces. Taiwan, South Korea, all the shoes. We used to produce all the radios, TVs, movies, cameras, everything. We don't produce a damn thing now because we don't want to be capitalistic. You better become capitalistic. You got to be able to make a profit because you got to pay the people. So right now, people in those foreign countries that came in and starting in the 1950s, when we started moving away from, when we started integrating, and all those big major industries moved into third world countries. And so now those third world countries got your money. We are buying products from them, and half those products won't even work.
Man. Well, how can we thrive under the capitalism? Like, is it possible? With that being said, you say it's the best thing for us we got going. How do we thrive in it? How do we as black people thrive under this system?
We thrive because we get some surplus capital in. We pool our own money. We pool our own money, buy our own product or services. And we build our own factories and industries in our own communities. And in our own communities, we have not one single community in America that's black. Not one.
Got a lot of black neighborhoods, no black communities.
All we got are black neighborhoods. A black neighborhood is where you eat and sleep. A black neighborhood is like a bucket with a hole in it, pouring water and it runs out. Everybody knows you cannot be a competitive group with no communities. But right now, everybody coming to this country got enough sense to say, I'm going to build Chinatown, Frenchtown, Germantown, Hockeytown. They build everything for their own people. And in that community, to qualify as a community, you must have three things. You must have a wholly independent economy that provides services, goods, and products, and jobs, and business and wealth-producing opportunities for your own people. That's the first thing you must have. The second thing you must have a code of conduct that tells you to buy from your own people first before you go down 2 miles down the road and buy it. And the last thing you must have elected officials that will represent you first and foremost before they represent everybody. Every time a black person runs for office now, first thing he says, I'm for everybody. And you shouldn't be running for office then. You need to go sit down and watch TV at home. Your first responsibility is to take care of those who put you in office. And then that's what you put your hand on the Bible for. And when you get sworn in office, you say this, I hereby swear on the Bible to protect and serve those who voted me into office. That's what Biden did. He swore an oath, but guess what? He got twice as much support from blacks than he did for any other group in America. And guess what? He haven't even mentioned the word black yet in a positive manner. And after the first year.
Yeah, he really
and see, you know why? Because black people put people in office and never demand anything.
Right.
That's your fault. You should never support anything, not a candidate, not a political party, nor a business that doesn't support you.
Right.
If it's not supporting you, don't support it. And see, other groups won't do it. They will take care of their own people first and foremost. And most of my friends, whether my friends are lawyers or dentists, they tell you up front, no, I'm going to support the Jews first. That's what the Bible said. That's what John said. John said, yeah, I'll go off and preach to the world, try to save the world, but first I'm going to save Jews.
Even if this country gave us reparations, let's just say we got reparations, do you believe that it will actually help black people? Do you think it will close the wealth gap in America?
I think it will close it some. It won't be, it can't close it completely because it has to be more than money, first of all. You have to include land and also access to resources. Like I just mentioned to you earlier about if you're going to build the first high-speed rail system in the country, and black folk are proposing it, and black folks have already designed it to run from the East Coast all the way across to Los Angeles. Why in the hell don't you put some of that money in this budget you got coming up? If you're going to put $88 trillion into infrastructure, why don't you put some of that money so black folk, for the first time in history, can own their own rail lines or have some ownership along with whites on a high-speed rail system running across the damn South.
Right. We can call it Soul Train.
That's right. Well, right now we call it the Southern Flyer as an example. Right now, they got high-speed rail system across Europe, China, and Japan. And why is it the United States doesn't have one? If blacks folks propose it, why don't you put in some of that money to help build a black super rail system flying across the United States that can take you across the country almost as fast as an airplane?
Right. Soul Train. That's the way it goes. That's what we got to get going. Why are we suspicious of black billionaires and black celebs who are flourishing in the capitalistic system?
Because in most instances, most of them tend to be too self-interested, egotistical, and in love with themselves. And I go across the country and find some of them, and I go by to check on them. All of them got 18-bedroom houses, as an example. 2 people living in an 18-bedroom house. They've got 3 swimming pools. I'm just telling you right now in Palm Springs right now, I go by there. 3 swimming pools, a waving pool, 2 swimming pools, 18 bedrooms, and living next door to Bob Hope and Brack talking about it, and you're a billionaire. No.
Dr. Anderson, I want to thank you for schooling me today. It's an honor to sit down and talk with you, man. We need this type of information. You are a staple in our community. I thank you for everything that you've done and all this information you've given me. You know, with that being said, I'm Chico Bean. This is Dr. Claud Anderson, and we out.
Hey, it's the voice of the people. Well, not all people, some people. Okay, maybe just friends and family. Charlamagne the God here, blessing your screen. Now do yourself a favor and subscribe to the God's Honest Truth YouTube channel.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What a show. What a show. Wow, we certainly appreciate Dr. Anderson. I mean, he is the man with the plan. And those who listen to this show today, I'm sure you walked away with something. And you may have some question or you may want a dialogue, because I think it was like a smorgasbord effect. I mean, there was so many things that he tapped into and gave us a complete understanding of it in those 40 minutes. Shawana, are you there? Wow.
I am here. It was great.
What do you think? Is that awesome? Isn't it like a gumbo, a smorgasbord effect?
Mm-hmm. It is. It totally is.
Yeah, and he wrapped it up, gave you an understanding of each thing that he was talking about. Is Keith on?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Keith. Yeah. Wasn't that incredible?
Yeah, it is. A lot of things that he says that you need to go back and research, because he's just giving you a taste. He can't go deeply into detail, but he's giving you a key.
Right. Of what you need to go and research for yourself.
Right, because they're still going crazy about when you did that interview about the fork in the road.
Yeah.
All the academics went crazy with that one interview. So, but he always does that.
Right.
I'm sure they're going crazy with this one.
I think we have a caller. Caller, go ahead, caller.
It's me, Catherine G.
How are you, Catherine G?
I'm holding on. I need to know, is there a number or some way I can get in touch with Dr. Claud?
Call to the office and Tim will give you his number.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I got a major problem with this pandemic and the federal government, and so anyway.
Well, Catherine, now if you know what you need to start with your governor and your mayor first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mayor and then Congress.
That's where you need to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
And I think it's so critical about the code of conduct, and that is so true. We just let people operate any kind of way in our community, whether they're black, blue, green. There should be a code that we need to demand that they stand by. How they keep their business up. It just need to develop that code, because I believe silently other communities must have a code, because certain things you don't see taking place in that business district,
Yep.
True.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we just let anything do any way the wind blow. We don't say anything, but we need to start stepping up, because we want our community to be one that our children come home from college and not wanting to move away from mom and daddy, who want to live in the same communities. So that's one of the reasons we have to protect it, make sure it has certain codes, certain standards. So they don't feel like they got to move away and you never see your grandkids, so they don't get to know you. So that's really something to think about.
Yeah. Black people have to stop giving away accountability. Okay, you have to be accountable for this stuff, and I think a lot of times black folks don't want to be accountable, so they just let anything slide. So it's not my fault. So we have to get out of that. Yeah,
we have to, and then have to stay on people who look like you too, because just like you told us, when it comes to capitalism, a lot of people, what they say, my skin may not be kin.
Yeah, all skin folk ain't kin folk.
Yeah. Because when you come and operate, and people kind of, I don't say they forced into capitalism, they just want to mimic those who have the capital. So when you get in the mimic sphere, you want to mimic those who have the capital, then you begin to mimic their ways. And you forget about the other people that have and have not. You want to be, with those who have. That's the saddest part that I see. And he was so right about the wealth and how they do need to go back and help. What do you need with 18 bedrooms? You can't sleep in but one. We just take it way out of proportion. And time you make it big, you got some real estate person. Most times the people who sell them those homes are not even a black real estate person. You see? So, and then they'll sell you anything. They know you're a doctor. They know you whatever. They're going to try to put you in the most expensive thing they can put you in, because they're going to make a larger commission. And people tend to feel so grand, I guess, because they have all of that. But they really do need to look out for other people. And I like what he said about we do need wealth. And he's absolutely right. I don't think you can get it from a job. He's not saying somebody got to have a job, but what he's saying, we need to focus more on business ownership, and we produce jobs to other people.
And accumulating
let me give
wealth.
the number right quick, Keith. I never did do it. Well, the fact it's 11 o'clock. We're going to be jumping off. But it's 310-928-7733, 310-928-7733. And this show is going to re-air, so you want to get all your friends and family on tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go to innerlightradio.com. That's INNER. innerlightradio.com at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah, you may have to do a part 2, because I don't think you can actually do this justice in an hour.
I know. So what we want to do is whet their taste, whet their appetite, that they would go and Google some of that information, And I said the number is 310-928-7733, 310-928-7733. Some people think that they can get wealth on a job, and he brought it out, and you cannot. You can't even get comfortable on a job because you don't know how long you're going to have that job.
Yeah. Shawana can tell you wealth is income. Okay. I mean, a job is income. Wealth is assets that don't require you to actually clock in and work. Wealth works for you.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
I agree with that, Chris.
Wealth works
I like
for
that.
you.
Yeah. Wealth works for you. Yeah, you work for income, and wealth works for you.
Versus you working for wealth.
Exactly.
Works for you.
Mm-hmm. I like to do things without a ceiling on top of me.
Right. And you like to make money over and over without putting more effort into making it.
Right.
Wealth is.
And you know what I also like to do? I like to share. I like to work with my people. I like to give, and I like you to work with me as well. I like to work with you, and I like you to work with me. So I really promote exactly what he was speaking about as well. We have to promote each other and help each other, and not be scared and feel like, oh, I'm not going to promote you because you're doing this. No, you're doing this. When you promote me, I promote you. We promote each other, and we have to learn how to do that and not be scared.
If I help you be successful, I'm helping my people because you are going to be put in a position that you can help some of our people who are in need.
Right.
So it really works for everybody. It works for everybody. Well, you guys, I'm telling you, this was a great show that I got a chance to. I had already heard. I listened to it again. I think there's a caller maybe holding. Caller, go ahead. Caller, open your mic from a 310 area code.
Caller, going once. All right, going twice. All right. Yep.
Maybe the caller was just listening. Okay, so I think the caller may be on hold from 310. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. It's actually 11 o'clock. We're going to jump off, and this show is going to re-air at 6 p.m., and it certainly is going to be one that's going to go up for YouTube. I think this is just absolutely awesome. So to my co-host, to the invisible man and the Valley girl, I want to thank you.
And who knows what happens in the
shadow.
The shadow.
When you send a book out, Keith, called Shadow, you don't know where
Shadow Man.
She stole my title. And that can take in so much. You know how people walk in other people's shadow? It can take you a whole lot of ways. But until next time, you guys, let's start thinking about the code of conduct that we want. You know, first we got to get a code of conduct at home. At home first.
Amen.
Then for the community. Then it spread out abroad. So anything that's operating without a code of conduct, you're going to run into some problems. Folks, you have a great day. And next week, same time. Blessings to you.